Cop City, still major protest, still city of Atlanta moving forward with doubling down on the development. Let's do this, right? Let's put up one of the signs, the iconic signs from this movement. It says, "Stop Cop City, a moral call for people of faith." That was posted by the United Church of Christ, okay? Just a few weeks ago, we had an activist, pastor, and community leader on the program. She actually went viral for calling out city council on their, well, let's say, lack of care for what the community is saying. Here it is.
Honestly, they could rip up this contract because they're already in violation of a lawsuit. There's been a lawsuit filed for this illegal land swap. There was also a stop work order put in place, and Dave Wilkinson was able to say, we're gonna go ahead anyways and violate that stop work order. So honestly, for the city of Atlanta to void this contract would be no more egregious than what's already been done. And I want people to be very clear. People of Atlanta in particular, when you are looking at your council members, I'm talking about Jason Dozier, I'm talking about Antonio Lewis, I'm talking about Jason Winston, I'm talking about Mary Norwood, I'm talking about Andrea Boone, we're talking about Liliana Bakhtiari, who is the council member that represents that district. We're talking about Dustin Hillis and Matt Westmoreland, all of them on down the line. What I want you to understand, people of Atlanta, is that it is a lie that it's too late to rescind that lease. That is not the truth.
Reverend Kiana Jones, well-respected community leader and activist, laid out protocol violations, but also said during that same interview that the reason there's this disconnect between the development and the community is because the city did not do a good job communicating things with input from the local area. That is a big deal. While we contextualize this entire argument of Cop City and this massive development in the arena of citywide good, please keep in mind the city, the entire city of Atlanta will not have to deal with Cop City, only a local community. That local community is East Atlanta. East Atlanta is saying they do not want the development as is. There may be opportunity for discussion here. There may be opportunity for negotiation. But when the other side seems as if they're not willing to even budge, then naturally individuals will go public, and that's what they're doing, rightfully so. Let me give you some other dynamics connected to this. Put up the picture of one of the faces now that will be connected to this saga forever. See, he's dead, and he's dead around very mysterious circumstances still. So the Atlanta City Council, and keep his picture up. The Atlanta City Council, they voted this week to move forward with allocating millions of dollars to a private nonprofit that plans to actually build the controversial police and firefighting facility, okay? It's the same area where protester Manuel Teran was shot, killed by troopers. Still unclear as to what actually happened. Conflicting reports, no gun residue on his hand, even though they said he shot first. Councilmember Dustin Hillis introduced the ordinance on Monday of this week after more than 7 hours of public comment opposing the project. So when this came up for discussion, over 300 people signed, right at 300 people signed the petition and said, we want to discuss. The vast majority were what? They were against Cop City. You have to understand, Atlanta is a different place. We are a cradle for civil rights. But that cradle, that civil rights dynamic is truly the moral compass of this country. What do you think America would be if it had not been for the Dr. Kings of the world? What do you think America would be right now if it had not been for the righteous movements that were contrary to the overwhelming sentiment of America, but those movements created better character for the nation? There's more. If approved, it would authorize the transfer of $30 million from the fiscal year 2023 budget to to the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center and $1 million for a gym at the site. It would also allow the city to lease the 85-acre facility to the Atlanta Police Foundation for $10 a year for 50 years. Meanwhile, the remaining acreage for the project is to be kept as a green space. The project is going to cost about $90 million, with the rest of the funding coming from the Atlanta Police Foundation. The nonprofit is raising money through private philanthropy, including corporate contributions from Bank of America, Chick-fil-A, Coca-Cola, Gas South, Georgia Pacific, and Norfolk Southern and UPS. Before the ordinance was introduced, dozens of protesters also rallied against the project outside of City Hall. They say the legislation goes against what council members have been saying, which is that there's little they can do to stop it. If approved, it would authorize the transfer of $30 million from this budget, and it would continue. Now, I want everyone to really consider why this is so important. I'm in Atlanta. I moderated the mayoral debates in Atlanta on CBS Atlanta News live. Nobody campaigned on this. No one campaigned on Cop City. As a matter of fact, it was such a non-factor in the overall scheme of the election. Many people did not even pose the question. Why? Because it wasn't something that was big and popular in the arena of elected or electoral politics. But all of a sudden it became the thing. I would say this in full transparency. I like Mayor Dickens. I think he's a fine leader. I think he's a remarkable person. And I'm thankful that the mayor appointed me part of this task force to oversee the development and implementation of this Cop City. The first meeting I refused to go to because the meeting was not open to the public, and I would not participate in such shenanigans. The second meeting was open to the public, and all meetings beyond that should be open to the public, as far as what I'm told. But I will say this clearly. My position has been steady from day one. Whatever the community wants in that local area will be the advocacy I give to the city. There's absolutely no changing that. If you do not do what is necessary to make Mama Dem in East Atlanta say yes to you, you will always get a no from me. All right, Jeff, thoughts here.
Yeah, they want the local community in East Atlanta, along with private philanthropy and many corporations, to pay for law enforcement in order to make them better at beating down the local community in East Atlanta. So East Atlanta is gonna pay for their own oppression and brutalization. Pretty cruel, if I have to say so myself. I don't know how it's gotten this far. I didn't know that background information about the mayoral race there, and I'm glad you moderated it in order to provide that background information. This is awful. Like, this is bad. There's nothing else I can say. And the fact that, there's a claim that there's little that the community can do to stop it is harrowing news. Like, this is horrible. They clearly don't want it. They shouldn't pay for it. All this money can go to fund stuff that would decrease crime, like housing, job placement, food insecurity. All that money could be used for something better than this, and the community won't get it.
Yeah, very sad saga. This could be career defining for the political figures involved, and some of them decent, good, solid up until now. There's a question. Doesn't have to be. You do not have to do what people with a whole lot of money are telling you to do. It is not mandated. All right, we'll bring you developments and updates as they come.